Hello, today we're going to be talking about chapter 8, and the title of the chapter is Communicating Verbally. This is an essential chapter. How we say what we say is quite important, and especially when to say and where to say. So we're going to take a look at what your book has to offer us right now. So I'll pull up your PowerPoints. So when you are discussing verbal, whoops, don't know why you didn't see me. Let's try it again. So when you are describing the definition of verbal communication, it is the exchange of spoken or written language with others during an interaction. So again, in most of our encounters every day with our friends and our family and our work environment, the verbal communication is the spoken word. But we also have to realize once we get toward the end of the book in workplace, we extend this more respectful, empathetic way of communicating with us in our written word as well. So language is symbolic. Words are primarily symbols, and they represent people, objects, events, ideas. So, this is the pen, and we labeled it the pen so we know what it is. Different from a mechanical pen, different from a ballpoint pen, different from, so the language describes the object that it is. So we have two rules, constitutive and regulative rules. So the constitutive rules define word meaning, so they tell us which words represent which objects, compared to the regulative rules govern how we use language when we verbally communicate. So your regulative rules include your grammar. So I know in our everyday world, we use the was and the were incorrectly. I hear many times, I wish I was, and it is not, I wish I was, it is, I wish I were. So anytime after you use the word wish, I wish I were, is were, not was. Same thing with if I were. See, you learn grammar. So personal idioms are words and phrases that have unique meaning. So sometimes others understand personal idioms. Sometimes we give nicknames, or we may have an acronym for something. So those are personal. Members of a culture who speak the same language may develop their own variations on that language called dialects. So yes. A dialect has a two-parter. One, it's different words for the same object. So for example, the night before Halloween, some of you call it the night before Halloween, or some of you call it gate night, goosey night, cabbage night, All Hallows Eve, depending on your region. So depending on your geographic location, you may call things by a different word. So only those people from that region would understand. The little sprinkles that go on your ice cream, we call sprinkles, but someone that lives by the shoreline most of the year will call those jimmies. And so on and so forth. So language evolves, obviously. Many view language as fixed, but it is actually constantly changing. So we know when I was growing up, the definition for bad was not good. It was very bad, and that has changed over the years. So with all the newness in our technology, we will be finding language is constantly changing. The dialect is changing. The difference of a word meaning is changing, and you have to keep up with the times. What is very apparent is, words that offend. We want to make sure that Now we are secure in knowing which words may offend. We also want to know political correctness. So those are all in ways that we are changing our language. Verbal communication serves many different functions in our daily lives. So we know that. But we know that we need more than one tool. Our daily life is home in the kitchen. Our daily life is work. So we do need to understand that the differences in context, depending on where you are, changes how you say what you say. So we're going to start by dividing our words into two types of meanings, denotative meaning and connotative meaning. The D in denotative gives you a hint that it's the literary meaning of the word as defined from the dictionary. And how we're using it. Connotative, additionally, understanding of words' meanings based on the situation and or common knowledge. So, some of us, when we were children, we went to the beach and we took a pail so that we can make our sand castles. Some people call that pail a bucket. Some people say, no, it's not a bucket. A bucket is big, a pail is small. But when you look at the denotative meaning, they're both the same. You may have steps leading up to your house. You may have stairs leading up to your house. You may have a stoop in front of your house. So depending on your area, the connotative meaning will change. What is more apparent to how the word is used in that specific instance. We also need to understand linguistic determinism and linguistic relativity. Linguistic determinism is the view that language defines the boundaries of our thinking. So if I have limited language, limited vocabulary, if I only have up to 8th grade vocabulary, linguistic determinism states that it's going to create boundaries on my thought process because I do not have the words or expression enough to articulate that. Linguistic relativity, the view that people from different cultures perceive the world in very different ways. So again, we don't want to be quick to assume that someone is using offensive language because based on the culture and the geographic location from where they are from, the word may mean something totally different. So we do need to know these two terms, linguistic determinism and linguistic relativity. And you can think of some examples of linguistic relativity. Naming, we name everything. Creating linguistic symbols for objects, one of mankind's most profound, unique abilities. We name, label everything. We love it. And we need to know how to use it correctly so that we don't use vague language. We want precision of language. We want to know that the tips of the shoelace is called an aglet, and the hole that the shoelace goes through is the eyelet. That's how we name it. We name it, use it, not the thingy. That's okay for your kitchen. Speech acts, the action we perform with language. So we have public speaking speech acts, which this class is not. This is an introspective view of how I'm going to improve as an interpersonal communicator. And if you want to start with language. So conversation, crafting conversations. I know many students always say, don't know what to say, don't know how to start it. So conversation is interactive. And there is I'm going to jump to the next slide, and it doesn't show it great here, but when you're in your book, it has like a flow chart of starting a conversation. And remember the phrase, communication reciprocates, and it mirrors itself. So if you're greeting someone, hello, the other person undoubtedly will greet you back, maybe not in the same manner. So you're starting to pick up, maybe this person is not in a reciprocating mood to want to have a conversation. So your conversation may end abruptly if you feel the person that, yeah, oh, okay, hi. So again, we need to know how to read these symbols and understand the interaction. It is it is locally managed. So yes, when you're having a conversation, if you're in an in-person class, it's managed in that environment. If you're having a conversation in your kitchen, it's in that environment. If you are in your workplace, it is in that environment. Is universal. So we know conversations, though we particularly care for conversations that have an agreed upon, mutually agreed upon language system. So if I'm going to enter a conversation with someone, I would like to be easily understood and have a mutually agreed upon language system. But if you do travel, you're not going to understand that conversation is universal, but it might not be a mutually agreed upon language system. So you may need to have your translator in your hand, which is your phone. And then we have certain scripts. So as you see here, hello is a script. It sure has been hot recently, again, that outer rimmed language when you just meet somebody. These are scripts so that we can, again, try to unfold more information and be comfortable with whom we are speaking. So this diagram, and I'll give you the page number. So in your ebook, you can go directly there. And okay, I thought they had it in your book. They don't. They did.